Okay, pulling on into the visitor center here. Pretty neat structure. Looks like the type of buildings you would see here years ago during the Indian times. And not too many people here. One thing I've noticed about this park is there's very few people in it, which is really just right up my alley. The ranger told me when I pulled into the gate that this is one of the most infrequently visited parks due to the fact that it's so far out. And there you'll see the Rainbow Forest Museum. Inside they got a lot of pretty cool displays, but I'm going to just go straight out to the trail. I'm dying to see all this petrified wood out here. Starting off already, you can see there's a couple chunks of wood out here, and from what I was told by the ranger is it's going to blow my mind how much petrified wood there is out here. She said that it's the most populated area for petrified wood in the world. Okay, starting to move on up the trail here a little bit, and as we walk out there, good Lord, look at all that petrified wood out there. Tons and tons of petrified wood, almost as far as the eye can see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work our way up the trail here a little bit. A little bit of construction going on, but no big deal. Just look at all that. It's everywhere. And interestingly enough, some of these pieces are really beautiful in color. Alright, so here we go, working our way up the trail. And as you can tell, it's a gorgeous day out here. There's good clear blue skies, high clouds. Just a perfect day for hiking. Alright, let's work our way up the trail here. And as we turn back towards the visitor center, now you can see it's a pretty windy day, as indicated by the flag on top of the building. And we press on up the trail. Now we come up here, there's another group of petrified logs sitting out here, and now we come up on a plaque. And this looks like a memorial for someone. Apparently this person was instrumental in creating this as a national park. Very cool. And let's start walking on up the trail. Oh man, would you look what we're seeing here now. All kinds of wood. It's interesting to think that this wood is over 200 million years old. And now you can see we're further up the trail as the visitor center is further off, but let's walk up by these logs and have a closer look. That is just fascinating. You know, it's funny, I had read about the petrified forest for a while and have wanted to see it for quite a few years, and I'm really glad I did. It was about a 6-hour drive coming over, but it was worth every mile and every minute. And best of all, there was really no traffic problems at all. Now, as you'll notice, a couple of these logs are pretty big too. In fact, they're real big, to be honest with you. And let's make a little pan around here. Just kind of show you the whole layout of the area. And moving on up towards the north. I love those clouds, they're so high up. Okay, so as you'll notice, this log here is in sections. It hasn't been sawed. Is what happens is as the ground beneath it settles, it actually cracks and breaks. And there up ahead we got another pretty big log. And moving right along here. Man, look at that thing. It's hard to believe that is actually stone. And now we have, looks like a piece of a log here, but notice all the different colors in it. And this one goes all the way back to the stump. And we're just going to walk all the way up there and you will see the stump of it. Okay, now we're walking inside of the beautiful petrified collection of the Crystal Forest. This is, to me, absolutely amazing. Beautiful walkway, and again, this sky is just amazing to look at. As we go up the trail a little bit here, you can see some of the pieces of petrified wood and logs. And then we have a sign here, when the Crystal Forest was a forest. Again, this is over 200 million years old, which to me is just absolutely amazing. So moving on from the sign, take a look at some of these pieces. These used to be logs, as we know. Petrification took place, and now they are stone. And so as we look at this one a little bit closer up, you'll notice the multitude of colors in it. So let's move on up the trail a little bit and take a look over here at some of the stones we have. In some areas, you'll actually see a full log, but look out there, it's just like they're all laying out there. And then as you move in, there's even more over there on the distance. If you look on that hill just to the right of center, and there you will see they're zoomed back out again. So we go ahead and progress up this trail, and here is a whole bunch of more pieces out here. It's funny, the ranger told me that I would really be blown away with all of the petrified wood out here, and she was right. I mean, I have never in my entire life seen so much petrified wood ever. Then you zoom in, and what's really neat is looking at the multitude of colors. And what she was telling us is, depending on the color, it'll tell you what process was done with the stone, as far as, was it iron, as some of the red ones, if you look at the red colors, that was iron ore. And anyway, this one has a hole in it, which is pretty cool. It looks like it was a hollow tree at one point. It fell and then was petrified. Alrighty, so now we're kind of looking over towards the east, And then you'll see as we move up the trail, there's yet even more petrified logs out here. Quite honestly, they're everywhere. I just am blown away with how many there are. Okay, so let's make way up the trail, and you'll notice this little hill over here. It's multiple colors, and those are actually representative of the periods in time to where the stone was formed. As you see it lighter on top and darker on the bottom. And then piled on top of there, we have some more chunks of petrified logs. Let's swing it on around here and take a look at these. These are really interesting to see too, especially the one on the left with the stripes in it. I think that's really cool. Take a look at that. I mean, it is some very distinctive white and red markings in there. And then you have lighter colored ones in the distance. All right, so we move on up the trail. And what we're going to do here in a second, we're going to be back to the halfway point of the trail. Okay, passing the halfway point now, we actually are going to pan over to the left and look at all of that petrified wood. It just seems to go on forever. And now I'm looking back down the trail from where I came. Come over to the other side of the trail. You got a really nice little valley down in there. Again, different colors of stones and yet more petrified wood laying down there. Now we're going to be panning into yet a different portion and see there's more of the petrified wood. What's interesting, up close you can see little chunks of petrified wood laying on the ground. And whereas the temptation to grab some to take home as a souvenir was pretty strong, I didn't want to do that because, again, that would not leave it there for future people to see. So we're hiking on along this ridge top right here, and you can actually see a couple of rolling hills, and there's still some petrified pieces on it as well. And now we have what looks like it used to be a full log, but it's been broken into pieces. And again, this is through the settling process. I really like this little valley through here to where you can see the different colors of the stone, which to me is just absolutely amazing to look at. And as you can see, we got a beautiful sunny afternoon on tap. Now here we go, here's some more petrified wood. Now I know a lot of this they stacked up in certain positions, but just to have so much in one place truly is mind-boggling. Okay, take a look at this one up close. And you can see the colors of this one are somewhat lighter. And then when we get in the inside of it, it's darker. And this looks like a tree that I absolutely split in half or in multiple pieces. And then we have a darker colored piece behind it. Now some of these things I found were almost 3 feet in diameter. So then we move out here and just look at all these pieces. This to me was just incredible. Circling back, let's have a look at these pieces from this angle. And again, this looks like at one time it was a whole tree. So what I did here is I walked down the hill, and now you're going to see as I come up, take a look at all the various colors in these pieces here. And yeah, you can see my old ugly shadow there. Alrighty, now a couple smaller pieces that are nonetheless enjoyable to look at. Let's have a close-up of this one. This one you got whites, you got grays, you got reds, brown, all kinds of colors in there. Way too cool. Now we're going to take a look at another couple of pieces. Again, this was at one point connected, and through settling is a broken half. And then you'll see there's additional pieces that have gone downhill. Okay, wow, who is that old guy? Anyway, I walked over here. I want you to take a look at the comparison of this rock to me. I'm 5'11", and this is a humongous piece of wood. All right, let's grab the camera and get back on the trail again, shall we? Here we come by a couple of other pieces. And let's have a look at the end of this one up close. That is pretty cool. To me, it's just fascinating how nature's processes work like this. Okay, so now we're starting to round the bend in the trail and head back towards the end of it. And we're going to come up on a couple more pieces right here. Okay, let's go have a look at the Blue Mesa overlook with the afternoon sun. And my plans are to come back up here tomorrow morning and be able to do a shoot up here with the sun from the opposite direction, just to compare the difference in colors. I love this trail, how it goes out over the edge of the canyon. And then what's nice is there's a couple places that you can step outside, have a look over there, but you'll notice with the sun straight ahead is the colors are a little bit more subdued. I can only imagine in the morning they're going to be on fire. And again, looking down into the canyon, you can see all the different layers of rock down there, all the colors. And even with the sun in the afternoon position, it still looks pretty impressive. Big old log down there in the bottom. And then as we move on up and around, we're going to be looking pretty much right in the sun here. But notice the color variations in the rocks there. Pretty awesome. All right, got a bright and early start this morning, and we're going to walk in the park, look around some different areas, and see what big a difference the lighting is with daytime versus afternoon. I can't wait to get to Blue Mesa and see the difference that it makes in morning versus evening. So our first place we're going to look at here, this is a really amazing overview, and this is actually looking out over the Painted Desert. Painted Desert to me I think is amazing because there's so many variations in color. And just have a look, you can see also the terrain changes quite a bit there as well. Now I'm standing up on this brick wall here, and I'm going to just make a pan all the way around, looking up and down. Again, lots of greens, lots of browns, lots of gray, all sorts of different colors in there. The weather is really very comfortable at this point because it's really not too cold and not too hot. I do, however, have a jacket on. All right, so back in the car, and we're running down to the next overlook, which is going to be called Tawa Point. So let's pull on up here, whiz in the parking lot, and have a look at what we got. One thing that I've really been amazed with is how few people are in this park. There's hardly anybody here last night and this morning. That is my kind of national park, as most of them are just insanely crowded and parking is very difficult at best. Alright, so we're going to hike out this trail. Again, this is going to look down into the valley from a really nice overlook here. The hiking trails here are really nice. They got pretty much everything, something for everyone. Let's go ahead and take a look down here. Isn't that amazing? There's a crow just went by. And then here we'll see all the varieties of the terrain as well as the colors. We go from red to brown to gray to green. And then off in the distance you'll see is the Desert Inn. That's the old historic Desert Inn. Let's zoom in for a closer look here down in the floor. This is definitely a must-see park. Okay, so we're on the road yet to our thirst overlook. And this overlook here, the third overlook I should say, not thirst, but we pull up and you can see the historic painted Desert Inn here. This actually was a rest stop for travelers on the old Route 66 many years ago. And now it's been set up as a visitor center and attraction. So what we're going to do is come into the parking lot. As you can see, there's tons and tons of parking available here. Alrighty, so we're out of the car now. Let's go ahead and have a look at this building. I can only imagine it had to be amazing to spend a night at this place when it was actually a motel or an inn. So now we're making our way around towards the east side of the building. And this structure, it definitely yells out American Southwest. Another thing I notice about it also is look how well built it is. I believe this thing could handle a tornado without any problem whatsoever. Now over to the side of the building, there's a trail that goes out to a couple of overlooks. So what do you say we have a look at it? Alrighty, there is the trail. And then we're going to walk around the back side of the building, let you have another look of it. Yep, sure enough, you can see me once in a while, my shadow popping into the screen. I don't think I could have asked for a better morning for this whole thing. Now we've got a U.S. Geological Survey marking here. And let's buzz out onto the trail a bit. The nice thing about these trails here is they're paved, so folks in wheelchairs would have access as well. I like when the parks do this because that way everybody can enjoy it regardless of their ability. All right, looks like we got us another sign up here. Let's see what this sign says. I enjoy reading these things because they're quite informative. And this says get lost. Well, when you look on the other side of the sign, you'll know exactly what they mean. Get lost in the beauty. Now to some, this might be kind of, oh well, ho-hum, so-so. But to me, I just think it's an absolutely awe-inspiring view. All right, so now we're kind of panning back over towards the east. Again, you see the sun sort of in our view there, so it flashes out the picture a bit. And then we turn around and you can see the old historic Desert Inn. Alrighty, so we're back on the road again, looking for our next stop. Alrighty, as you'll see, everything out here is really super flat except for the mountains that pop up here and there. But the drive is just great. Alrighty, so we're coming up on another overlook here. And we have yet another interesting sign here. And this says Humble Beginnings. This is basically talking about how the earth was formed here. Now, when God created the world, he did a lot of interesting things, and looking at this, it really does give you a lot of understanding of how we serve such an awesome God. Just take a look at this. And we're going to pan all the way over again. You'll see that the variations in color and terrain are really interesting. And then sweeping up here on this side. Now the petrified wood is mostly to the south side of the park. However, you will see some stuff here. Now we come up on this one, Enduring Abode. And again, there was a lot of Native Americans that lived in this area. And so this was their home. I guarantee you they had the most amazing view you could ever ask for. Just look at that. And path of least resistance. This shows where the water flow was. And moving on over here, let's have a look. I quite honestly couldn't get enough of all this. This is just unbelievable. Alrighty, so let's come over here. And now we are at the historic Route 66 crossing. This is amazing. They have the grill work off of an old car. And there's a nice little surprise out here. You're going to have an old Studebaker. This is pretty cool because they call this highway the Highway of Dreams. There are still parts of US 66 here, but most of it is pretty much gone now. So here we go. This is the old Studebaker. Now I can only imagine that story the car could tell would be amazing. It's a 1932 model, so you're looking at a car that's 92 years old. And we'll come up and we're going to look all around this car. Again, I'm always constantly keeping an eye out for snakes. Whenever I'm out here in the Southwest, is rattlesnakes are pretty prevalent, and the last thing I want to do is encounter one of those. So typically if I'm walking up to an old object or structure, I like to have a look inside and around to make sure I'm not getting ready to put my hand on top of one. A snake bite out this far would definitely be a bad day. Alright, so let's reach inside here and take a look. And this is the gutted out shell of the 1932 Studebaker. So neat to see. So we're back over here on this side of the Studebaker, just a different view. And then what we're going to do is walk out on these trails. You see those power poles? Well, let's walk up a little bit closer and have a good look at them. Now, they say every now and then you can find an old chunk of asphalt of the old US 66. But on these power poles, these ran right next to 66 and carried a whole lot of power and probably a whole lot of stories. Here you'll see over here is the other side, and they just go on for miles. Alrighty, so now we're at the Puerco Pueblo location, and this is really cool too because there's a lot of ruins. There's actually an ancient village here, or the remains of an ancient village. So let's mosey on up the trail. Again, this trail is really nicely set up, easy to navigate, easy to hike. And now we come up on our first site of ruins. Again, this looks like an old foundation off of some kind of building. And so we pass around that, just have a good look at it. I like to to aim the camera on portions to take advantage of the light. And here you go, this sign is talking about life in the village. So we come upon another group of foundational stones here. And again, this is part of their village. But what we're going to do is work our way around this trail, and there's some petroglyphs up here also. For those of you all that have never seen petroglyphs, they're really amazing to see. Okay, here are yet some more of the ruins. And it's pretty old. Alright, so notice how they all seem to kind of go in a straight line. Again, this is where one of the walls would have been. And now we're going to move over here. And this side I really like because it talks about the Conservation Corps. This was something that Teddy Roosevelt put up. And this gave people work to do, try to bring in the country out of the recession. Or I should say the Great Depression of '29. This rock here I really like because this is what they call the solstice rock. And on the sign you'll see that certain days of the year, or a certain day of the year for the solstice, is the sun hits that rock at a specific angle, and they know that is the summer solstice. So as we come over here, let's have a look at this rock. Now again, we're still about 2 months away from the summer solstice, so we're not going to have to worry about seeing that today. And a canvas for ideas. This is the petroglyphs I was talking about. The dark spot on that one rock there has got several petroglyphs on it. Almost looks like a bird holding a person in its beak. Okay, so we're going to come over to another set of petroglyphs, and I like these because they're easier to see. Let's zoom in, and then you can see the petroglyphs again on that dark portion of the rock. And then we're going to actually pan the camera around here, and you'll see even more petroglyphs. Okay, so we're going to head back up to this hut. This looks to me like it's a reproduction. But anyway, it's pretty cool. Got a lot of neat structure to it. Looks like a lot of history. And so we just walk on up here and have a look. This looks like an incredibly well-built building. Man, it would be really cool to live in that. Out here in the middle of nowhere at nighttime, I can only imagine the sky has got to be amazing. Okay, looks like we have us another historic marker here. And what we're going to do on this one, we're actually going to go down here. This is the marker for Newspaper Rock. And Newspaper Rock, they call it that because there's a huge collection of petroglyphs on it. And we are going to take a look at them. Yeah, I love these signs. Layers of meaning. And again, this talks about the different layers in the rock. And then we move over here, and they've got some little peephole telescopes set up to where you can look down at these rocks. I use my big zoom lens. And now you can see some of the petroglyphs down there. Hence the reason they call this newspaper rock. Zoom back out again, and then we'll look up into the valley and see again some more interesting formations of rock here as well. It's pretty cool to see. Now as we move on, I would like you to take a look at this rock here. These are called the teepees. Again, they look a lot like an old Indian teepee, and the color variation is nothing short of awesome. Notice you go from light, sort of almost a beige color, to dark red. And then we're going to swing the camera over here and take a look at all of the variations in the rock. And now we're on the road again. So we're going to cruise on down the highway here, and our next stop is going to be pretty interesting to see. Meanwhile, we take a look over there to the side, and you can see all the different rock formations as well. So as we come up on this one here, this is going to be looking at another shift in color. And again, what happens here, this is the spot where the painted desert sort of transitions back into the petrified forest. Okay, so now we are walking back out on the Blue Mesa overlook, and what a difference the colors have this morning. Yesterday afternoon we had the sun pretty much straight in front of us, and so the colors were quite a bit different. But as you'll look up here, they really are set off by the sun this morning. This is just amazing to see. I'm going to walk back out on this little overlook here, and you can look down in the canyon. Now we mosey up this trail, and this is a really great trail because it's got a good view, and you could take this trail all the way down into the bottom of the canyon if you wanted to. Unfortunately, my time is kind of limited because I've got to get back over to Las Vegas, so I'm going to make as much time as I can with it. And now we walk up to the edge and just have a look down in there. That is just unbelievably beautiful. I know I say that term quite a bit in my videos, but the stuff I see is amazing. Okay, so let's walk over and look at this beautiful bright red flower. I don't know what kind of flower that is, but it really is pretty, and it stands out quite a bit. So we're going to walk up the trail a little bit further, and there's a couple more really awesome overlooks that I want to look at. And I think I'm getting ready to get a $1 million view here in just a second. So let's walk out on this little area here. And I'm playing it safe. I'm not going too close to the edge, but would you look down in there? Notice how the colors are just so much different down there. And I'm going to swing the camera back around for quite another look here. And look at that. Down in the bottom, you got grays and stripes and then light colors as it goes higher. Then you got some greens and some reds. Another view I have here, I walked out to quite another overlook, and this looks down into the canyon as well. I'm just blown away with what a difference it makes in the colors from last night, or I should say yesterday afternoon until now. I'm glad that the sun was out really good this morning because I wanted to be able to get a good comparison in colors. So now we're over at yet another overlook, and I'm going to shoot across the canyon floor, and you'll notice more varieties in terrain. And we come over here, swing a little bit to the left, and then you can see that the trail cuts up through here. If I had enough time, I would love to go down there and do that whole trail. That would be an awesome trail to hike. But I guess I'll just save that for another time. I'm really glad that I came back by here because I wanted to have one more look at this before I left. You can see a couple people down there walking on the trail. Nice thing is it's a paved trail, so again, if someone was so inclined, they could go through there in a wheelchair. And swinging back across to the right and on the road again. And again, we're going to cruise up through here. This next overlook I've been wanting to see too, and you will see in a minute what a treat I have in store. Look at this parking lot. I'm the only one in here. You can't beat that, can you? All right, so here we go, walking on through this building. And I just love the fact that it's uninhabited. One issue I have with photography and videography in these parks is there's so many people, and a lot of folks just can't put two and two together that you're shooting a picture or video and they'll walk right in front of your camera. All right, take a look at that big old tree that's actually going over the gully there. We're going to get a little bit closer and have another look at it. What's interesting about this is they built a concrete bed underneath of that petrified tree that had fallen so as to keep it from breaking off, which eventually it would do and fall into the ravine there. So let's bit on down to the end of the trail here. And another good sign here, which I'm pretty sure talks about this. And here we go. This is the bridge. Have a look at that. You can see the concrete that's been put underneath of it. But that is a petrified tree stretching over that gully. Welcome to Winslow, Arizona. Beautiful town. And here we are, standing on the famous corner in Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see. There is the flatbed Ford, but I don't see the girl, my lord. And there's a handful of people out there enjoying everything. It's pretty cool. I've been through this town now twice, and I really like it. I love the corner of this building, and inside they got all kinds of cool gifts, souvenirs. And now we pan back across the street, and a lot of folks over there getting their pictures taken. And here in the middle of the street, this is where the historic 66 passes through Winslow. Moving across the other side, I had to catch a pan straight up looking at the 66 sign. And now, here we come on the 66 sign, and we are rolling out of town. This was really fun to stop off in here. I figured while I was this close, I might as well. So let's roll on out of Winslow. Stay tuned. Now we're heading up to the famous meteor crater. This is really a cool place to see because it is an absolute humongous crater in the ground left by a meteor many years ago. So as we round the corner here, we pull on into the visitor center. And again, it's pretty cool. A lot of neat stuff here. I'm curious to have another look at this big crater. So let's see if we can find us a parking space. Unfortunately, this is a little bit more crowded than the park that I just left a couple hours ago. And here we are, standing on the rim of this crater. Would you have a look at that? Wow, that is just so phenomenal. They say that the meteor came in from the southeast as it pushed a lot of the rocks up on the northwest corner. Now we're going to have a close-in zoom shot of the crater. You'll notice some different colors at the bottom. And then look at the old man. Got to get the mandatory selfie shot in with the crater in the background. I must say this was the most epic weekend trip. Lots of cool stuff to see and do. And until next time.